This is the 2023 Honda HRV, available in 3 different trim levels: LX, Sport, and EXL. We've already taken a look at the LX, and today we're going to take a look at the Sport and see if Honda made the right changes from the first generation to the second generation of the HRV. I borrowed this model from my friends at Holmes Honda here in Shreveport, Louisiana. And if you're observant, then you notice that right now the price of this particular model is on the screen. And yes, there are some people who actually ask what the price is after they have watched the video. I still don't know how people are missing that. When it comes to pricing, the HRV Sport starts at $25,650, but if you were to add enough options, it is possible to take the price north of $33,000, but that's up to you.
Honda intends the HRV to be an entry-level model for SUV shoppers and pitches it against such rivals as the Chevrolet Trailblazer, the Mazda CX-30, Toyota Corolla Cross, and Volkswagen Taos. 5 packages are available, starting with the All-Season Protection Package 1, All-Season Protection Package 2, the HPD Package, the Protection Package, and the Rugged Package. Check the description of the video to see package details for each individual package. And you will also find 27 exterior options to choose from as far as different options you can add, including a bike attachment frame mount, valve stem caps, and even a tent. And there are 8 interior options, and if you live in an area where it snows regularly during the winter and gets below 20 degrees, for example, there is also an engine block heater available. And what about exterior color option availability? There are a total of 5 to choose from.
Literally every light on the exterior of this vehicle is LED, from the headlights, the blinkers, the turn signal indicators that are built into those side view mirrors. Yes, those are there, to the tail lights, the reverse lights, and basically everything in between. Also, some of the lighting in the interior is LED as well, including the rear lights for the rear seating area, the map lights in the front seat area, and even that light that's located underneath the center portion of the console that only comes on at night. Being that the 2023 HRV is based on the same platform as that of the 2022 Honda Civic, you're going to see a lot of things that interchange between the two, including the naturally aspirated 2-liter 4-cylinder. Gone is that 141 horsepower 1.8-liter 4-cylinder that we saw in the previous generation of the HRV. And you might say, how much more horsepower? If you don't get real excited after what I tell you, don't worry. I can tell you that it really does make a big difference. Even though the horsepower has only gone up 17 from 141 to 158, and the torque has increased to 138 foot-pounds, that doesn't mean that there's not a big difference. The way this is tuned, the way this model handles, even the way the CVT single-speed transmission, that continuously variable transmission, acts, makes it feel a lot more peppy than it really is. But the big thing in this day and age, I know a lot of you want to know about MPGs. Let's talk about that. 26 miles per gallon city, 32 on the highway, 28 combined. And according to Honda, you should use 3.6 gallons of gas for every 100 miles you drive. And to bring that point home just a little bit better, this model is equipped with a 14-gallon gas tank. One of the most common questions that I received, or comments I received, when previewing the 2023 HRV before we actually had our hands on one, was everyone saying we don't want it to be a lot bigger than the previous generation. If that happens, what's the point of the CRV? So what exactly are the changes to the size of this HRV? First of all, it's 2.6 inches wider. The wheelbase has increased by 2 inches, and if you're wondering what exactly is wheelbase, it is the center of one tire to the center of the other. And the overall length, which is obviously bumper to bumper, and it's a total of 9.4 inches longer. But don't worry, because that doesn't mean that the interior is a lot bigger. And one of the best ways to tell you about what has changed size-wise is to tell you about the cargo capacity back here. 24.4 to 55.1 cubic feet when you lay those rear seats flat and maximize your cargo area. You also have the 12-volt power outlet located back here. That comes in nice and handy. There are cargo lights that are also LED. I told you those were everywhere on each side back here. And good news for those of you who are fans of spare tires and not fans of the tire repair kits that we see showing up in more and more vehicles these days. Underneath the floor right here is a spare tire. And to make things a little bit easier to understand, what were the cubic feet worth of cargo space in the previous generation of the HRV? 23.2 cubic feet up to a maximized 58.8. And you might wonder, really, it's actually less? Let me show you one of the primary reasons why that is. That's because gone are the magic rear seats. Tell me what you think about that down in the comments section. You used to be able to fold the seat cushion up and out of the way, and that increased cargo capacity back here. Depending on what you needed to stand straight up, for example, that would work really well. Let's talk a little bit about exactly what you'll find back here while we're here. Starting with the door panel, I like the contrast stitching, very nice looking. That's throughout the interior, not only on the door panels, but on the seats themselves as well. And just so you can see, well, here's how I fit back here. I do have a little bit of head space. This seat is somewhat far forward, so that does help, but I can stretch out and I have a couple of inches above my head. And here in the interior, you'll find a lot more that makes you think of that 11th generation of the Honda Civic, including the steering wheel, the layout of the dashboard, like I said, the design of the air conditioning vents and all of that area around those. The infotainment screen, which in this case is not the largest available, it's the 7-inch compared to the 9-inch, but still the same, kind of that floating look. And the good thing about that is that, well, unlike the Civic, you're not sitting quite as low, but it's more in the driver's line of sight if they need to look down and at that screen. Something I do like is the fact that you have the conventional style cup holders here. Gone are those former cup holders we used to have here in the center, that behind the shifter are the buttons for your mode selector, and there are 3 modes. You have normal, you have Econ, and you have snow. And the thing I like here, even though there's not a lot to choose from in that area, say you live in an area where you need the all-wheel drive version of the HRV, which that is available, and it snows a lot, and you're driving around in snow mode. Well, the good news is that when you turn the ignition off and then back on, it hasn't defaulted back to normal as we see with a lot of vehicles. Kudos to Honda for that. I like that a lot. The seats are very comfortable. They keep me nice and comfortable, surrounding my body well with the bolstering. Not too much, but not too little. And then back here to these controls right here, you've got your hill descent control. You also have hill start assist, things that work very well. And then you have brake hold mode and your power parking brake and your console right here. That works really well. There's a decent amount of space in there, a little bit of space in the pass-through here underneath where that light is that I talked about that only comes on after dark. You also have a couple of USB ports and another USB up here in front of the area where your cup holders are. And you also have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And before we hop out on the road for our test drive, there is one more important detail I want to share with you. And that has to do with the child safety locks. They're not actually located on the driver's side door as they are in many vehicles. They're located here on the rear doors on each side, and they're the button right here. When it's in the up position, as this one is right here, they're inactive. Now that I pushed it down, it's active. So let's just say that you just bought a 2023 Honda HRV and you're out in the middle of nowhere and you think to yourself, I want to check out the back seat of my HRV. You better make sure that at least one side is in the up position. So what exactly is it like to drive the HRV? It's actually quite a pleasant experience, being that it's based on the 2022 Honda Civic platform. You will have some kind of Civic-like handling characteristics. And the best way I can describe that is that it handles like a Civic with body roll. But that's a good thing, because when you have a little more body roll, you know what that means? I probably shouldn't be looking at the camera, right? It means that you're going to have a smoother ride quality. The more stiff your suspension is, the more high performance, the less body roll you're going to have. It's going to handle better. The vehicle is going to handle better. And so while you have good handling here, handling is definitely not a problem, you do have a situation where, yeah, there's a little bit of body roll, but the payoff is a really smooth ride. In fact, I've driven this model for the last couple of days and been able to experience the differences between my daily driver that has a little bit more of a stiff ride than this one does and what we have right here. So that increase in wheelbase definitely has helped to improve ride quality. Not that it was terribly bad on the previous generation, but you still can improve on that, and Honda did. Overall, a very nice vehicle to drive. Everything is easy to get to. There's plenty of space in here for the driver and the passengers. The steering wheel is nice and comfortable, and handling is pretty good as I'm cruising through a pretty decent corner here, doing a little over the speed limit, but not too much. We want to be kind of careful here, especially in a vehicle that's not really made for high performance driving. And by the way, acceleration, you might wonder, well, let's hit the pedal and see what happens. Yeah, it's a little noisy in here, but not bad. Keep in mind, it's dead quiet in here other than the sounds coming from the engine and from the drivetrain. If you had somebody sitting in the passenger seat you were talking to and the radio was on, or whatever the case is, maybe even the air conditioning fan speed was turned up, you're not going to notice as much of that. The CVT is very well behaved. That's always a win in any vehicle, and Honda seems to have done very well with the latest generation of their continuously variable single-speed transmission. It's not going to win any drag races, that's for sure, and I wouldn't exactly recommend autocross with it, although, yeah, you could probably get away with a little bit of that, but overall, just a really great vehicle to drive. Fun and enjoyable. It's definitely going to get the job done, and at a reasonable price point. So tell me down in the comments section, what do you think? Did Honda make the right changes to the 2023 Honda HRV? And what do you think about the sport trim level of the HRV? I'm curious to know. What do I think? Well, I think they did a great job. Is there always room for even more improvement? Sure there is, but you can't get it all in one shot. They did a good job here. I can't wait to see what comes down the road in a few years. Gotta say a special thanks to my friends at Holmes Honda for loaning me this Honda HRV Sport for the day, and all of you for being kind enough to take the time to watch. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out another of the videos that's on the screen right now, and I'll see you there.